Jaywalkers, how it do? I play it for you. Welcome to another episode of Jcraft's Horror Game Review. Now imagine you're waking up stranded in an endless void of space. Your crew broken. Your trust gone. Time itself feels fractured. And every answer only raises more questions. And every revelation makes you question what you thought you knew. This game just isn't about jump scares or to simply scare you. It's to make you feel uncomfortable and question every act of symbolism you see. Welcome to the review of Mouthwashing. Now right off the bat, let's go into the 5 sections that I normally do, worth 20 points each, grand total of 100 points. In this video, we're gonna tackle the ever-growing challenge on my channel. Will Mouthwashing be the game, the first game to get above a 90% on my grading system? Let's find out. So for gameplay and mechanics, I'm already gonna top it off at 15 points. You know, the gunplay for Mouthwashing and the enemy AI was really straightforward. We really didn't get a lot of it. It basically was self-explanatory. The game felt really smooth. I gave it a 15 because it wasn't exceeding in that regard, but it met the requirement that I have with my subcategories for gameplay and mechanics. Now for story and atmosphere, for the next section, you all know I love story and I love sound. So 2 things I grade the hardest on. And let me just tell you, if you're looking for a game that has immense story, just incredible character arcs, incredible story arcs with an amazing plot twist, Mouthwashing is for you. I gotta give it to him. 20 points for this story. I can't remember the last time that I played a game like this that has a story that is so captivating. I had a short stream when I was doing this first playthrough, and that short stream turned into a long stream because I couldn't stop. As soon as we started breaking down into the story, the characters' emotions, their backgrounds, where they came from, I was hooked. And I knew I was not ending the stream. I wasn't stopping recording until I knew how this story ended. So if you want a game with story, this is the game for you. The pacing, amazing. Best story, best character arcs. It really made you question who was the villain in this story, and the switch up of perspectives, things that books do that video games struggle with. Mouthwashing hit it head on. Bravo. I don't think I've given 20 points to story yet. I've given 20 points to other categories, but story, I think this is the first one. And I will be recommending that. Like, it is absolutely phenomenal. Now, sound design and music is gonna top out with 18 points. It's above average. There was a lot of immersed sounds in the background, a lot of ambient audio, but I can't give it 20 points because there is no voice acting. I love a game with voice acting. From a streamer perspective, no voice acting also adds more flair for me to make content. So as a streamer, it works for me. But as a review system, I really would appreciate voice acting to kind of get a feel and more. It's another way to immerse with the storyline, to create your own bonds with the characters when you're hearing what how they speak, their dialect, their tone, their emotion, their expression. But instead, you read it in your voice as a player. So other than that, sound was above and beyond. It did what it was supposed to do. Just needed voice acting. Visual and level design, I'm gonna have to give it 15 points. You know, honestly, the design of this ship was actually phenomenal. The game itself was I don't know if it's the pixel art, and at first it took a while to click with me, but it really adds the almost like cult theme to, or like, you know, psychological theme to what this game is trying to portray. So the more I played, the more it really grew on me. And, you know, visual and level design, I'm gonna have to give it 15 points. It wasn't, you know, anything to write home about, but it did exactly what it was supposed to do. You know, with the lighting, the graphics, you know, there was a few things in here that I had to take out, you know, in terms of like, there's no really crazy jump scares, but it's not what Mouthwashing is defining, right? There's no real level variety per se, but the ship is incredibly large. And then when your mind starts going delirious, or at least you think you are, or you don't even know who you are, there's just random manipulations to the environment that you think you know, and it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. The environmental detail was incredible. It fed into the story. You could have found out that we weren't fans of the company that employs us to ship these space mouthwashes or whatever they may be, just by the way that we've treated the posters and everything around the ship. So, you know, there was storytelling in the environment, and that's something that I look for, and that tied into the level design as well. Now, replay value and overall experience, I'm gonna put 15 points. You know, me personally, I would be biased and I would top this off at like a 20, but you know, looking at all the subcategories of replayability, I have to say that it only truly met, you know, the expectations. It didn't exceed it. For replay value, it's something to be, you know, replayability. You know, you can put a ton of hours into a game. You know, it's got to have variables and factors into it that you're able to put your time into it. And Mouthwashing just isn't that type of game. But it didn't fail this category. I mean, not by any means, but I wouldn't say it exceeded. You know, and my overall experience, you can't already tell, was phenomenal. You know, this was a story from beginning to end. And as soon as I finished the video game, you know, I was sitting at my computer desk streaming this game. And as soon as I finished, I just sat back, just processing everything. And I can't remember the last time a story for a video game has ever left that impact on me. I mean, insane. I mean, like I said on stream, the last time was What Remains of Edith Finch, which, you know, it's been a while, you know, but Mouthwashing just had that personal enjoyment factor for me where I felt fully immersed with the story. I wanted to get the next crumb of what was going to happen next. And when I did, I didn't even understand what was happening half the time until the very end. I love stories that do that, where they give you little snippets here and there, and then they go, bam, here's the plot twist, and here's everything that makes sense, and there's symbolism, and you didn't know this, and look, this person is actually the villain, and you've been playing as them, and you just like complete, just mind-boggling explosion of just lore and story development, and this video game ends, and you're just like, what just happened? You know, so it's crazy. And, you know, I will play it again for, you know, achievements, just because that's just how I am. But yeah, you know, I'm gonna have to give it 15 just to be fair. I gotta keep my system as fair as I can. And you know, like always, if you've been doing the math, that brings their score to 83%, which is pretty much the average for a good game that I recommend on my channel is anywhere from 80 to 89%, or if we can get higher. I think the only exception would be Playback. If you've watched that video, it got a 79, but in my eyes, it was very well within the range of 80 to 89%. It's there. But yeah, you know, like I mentioned, you know, 83%, great score for Mouthwashing. You know, some games, they'll entertain you for a weekend. Maybe you'll get a few months out of them, or you know, one of the Steam summer sale games. And some games will challenge your skill, you know, like a ranking system or whatnot. But every once in a while, a game comes along, and you know, it's a game that not a lot of people might know about. It might sneak through the cracks, and you know what we call that is a gem, ladies and gentlemen, a gem. And that game will leave a mark on you. All it takes is one playthrough, and you'll be thinking about it months after playing it. Mouthwashing is that game. It's not just a psychological thriller. It literally is an experience that slowly builds, getting under your skin, making you uncomfortable, question everything. I mean, it's not even towards the end where you go, so who's the villain in this story? Is it me? Is it Captain Curly? I have no idea what's going on. And then you finish the game and you go, I'm absolutely torn. Like I'm absolutely torn. And so for that, you know, I'm going to be recommending this game to friends and family for years. I mean, the fact that I streamed this game probably, I think 2 weeks ago, I'm still thinking about it. I will catch myself at work or just walking around the house going, damn, that ending to Mouthwash was really, really good. Like, I can't believe how good that game was. And if you find a game that does that to you, keep it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I'm telling you, for this game, if you want a game with a story, Mouthwashing is the game for you. I promise you. The reason for that is because Mouthwashing doesn't just ask you to survive like a monster or a chase or some type of Resident Evil or Silent Hill layout. It just asks you to survive the truth. And when you get the truth, to question it, question everything. The symbolism in this game is insane. I mean, I had people in chat coming in going, this is my opinion, but did you know blah, 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 blah could represent blah, blah? And I was like, I had no idea. Wow. Okay. And it just opened everything for me. And you know, the cool thing about Mouthwashing is that when it forces you to face the truth, and however you digest that truth, sometimes the truth is far more terrifying. And that's what makes this game great. I mean, you go on the Reddit page for Mouthwashing, there are tons of just theory crafting of, you know, hey, did anyone notice this when I was playing the game? I want to make sure I'm not crazy thinking this might be symbolic or something. And I love games like that. I like games that have positive discourse about the story of the game and the direction it's going. Chef's kiss. That's a sign of a great game, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that concludes my review for Mouthwashing. Let's get into the fun part, which is the fun facts. And sometimes I struggle finding fun facts, but let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, jaywalkers, I got some juicy facts for you on this game. There was a lot. So the devs, they took inspiration from horror films like Alien, The Thing, Shining, Event Horizon, and Sunshine. And if you've seen any of these games or any of these movies, sorry, and you watch the playthrough or play the game yourself, you will understand, especially Alien. It'll immediately stick to you. And The Shining, when I found out they used The Shining, I was playing it back in my head and I was going, oh yeah, wow. And you're like, you just don't even think about that kind of stuff. Anya is heavily inspired by Shelley Duvall's character Wendy from The Shining. That was my clicking moment. My light bulb was going. I was like, I thought I recognized her from somewhere. I was like, I couldn't put my finger on it. And as soon as I read that, I was like, it literally is her from The Shining. I was like, that is crazy. And then, you know, Daisuke is heavily modeled after, I'm going to butcher this name, Ryosuke Kawashima from the Japanese horror film Cairo or Pulse, which I looked it up and it's uncanny how similar they are. The low poly PS1 era graphic style was chosen to leverage the uncanny valley effect. And if you don't know what uncanny valley is, this game literally exemplifies it. It amplifies it. It's the idea of small little variations in human characteristics that make it uncomfortable for you, but you can't properly discern it as something that is truly scary. We saw that with my Who's at the Door review. They do the same thing, the same psychological trick, and it is a great one to use in the game. The other fact, you know, to heighten the feeling of isolation and paranoia, character movement was engineered to play footstep audio around the player, even when characters are not visibly moving, tricking the player into feeling followed. That is actually dirty. That, like, as a dev, that is such a dirty move. That is so dirty. Oh man. And you know, next fact we got is the sound designers engineered gunshot sounds to sound exactly like someone that is not familiar with a gun when fired, completely untrained and inexperienced. So that like little short level, that chase level, where we have the gun and, you know, you're trying to get the shots off, those sounds, pay attention to them. It's not a normal standard gun sound. It sounds like someone who is not familiar with the weapon, which I thought that was a really cool little detail they threw in. This other one, the Fame Metanif board game that the crew plays during their downtime in the game, is a fictional adaptation of Ludo or Pachisi. I might have been butchering all those names, I apologize. But because the movement relies completely on dice rolls, it mathematically highlights the crew's total lack of agency and their choice over their fates. So again, another symbol. And honestly, there were so many fun facts about symbolism in this game. I had to sum it up. There's just too many. So if you feel like you like these facts and there's more you want to dive into, I recommend going to their Reddit. Their Reddit has a lot of juicy takes. I spent like probably an hour or two just reading the Reddit page. The name Swansea was picked for the symbolism because swans kill their young when they're sick or injured. That probably the biggest fun fact to me that I found, because I struggled so much with Swansea having to ultimately deal with Daisuke the way he did, because I was like, he's looking after him. Like, I don't understand why he took that route. And then everyone online is like, it's the symbolism. A swan does the same thing. Swansea. And I was like, that's actually insane. Wow. You know? Next one I got is, so Captain Curly in the video game served as Jimmy's moral alignment, which we kind of had figured that out, but I think once it was more like set out in the open, I understood it more clearly of like, that does make sense, that why we had all these trippy visions with Captain Curly, because he in a sense was like our moral Jesus, you know, like basically helping Jimmy deal with what he did and understand why and try to come to terms with it. Yeah, and you know, I will caution you too, you know, that was my last fun fact. There are a few aspects of this game that can be sensitive to an everyday reader. It's a great story, but there are certain aspects of it that, you know, just be cautious when reading it. There's just a lot of, you know, Jimmy committed a lot of bad stuff in this game. We don't find out about it. It's actually, I don't think it's ever mentioned. I actually had a chatter come in my channel and mention it and saying, hey, you know, Jimmy did this to Anya, and that's why Anya's acting like this and struggling with this, and why she feels that way about Captain Curly. And I was like, I feel so smooth-brained. I had no idea. Wow. So, just great game, hands down. Would highly recommend, you know. And honestly, if you enjoyed these reviews, I would greatly appreciate feedback. Coming back for more. You know, I'm trying to push one out each week. I'm trying to shorten them, and I'm trying to change the format and make it more smooth and flow, but I still want to use the point system. So again, please follow, subscribe, like, comment, the whole 9 yards. If you really enjoyed this content, I'd really appreciate it. I put a lot of work into these videos. I try to flush them out and make them better, and I'm so a perfectionist on these things, especially when it comes to the long form videos, that I'm sure I'll publish this video and I still won't feel like it's fully to the quality that I want. Shout out to the Jaywalker community. You know, you guys are great. You guys are the whole reason that I do this and do what I do, because you guys make it so much fun to stream video games, to interact with each and every one of you. And you know, like I said, 83 is probably right where most of my really good video game reviews are. But don't let the score fool you, since it didn't get into the 90 percentile. But you know, if you're looking for a gripping psychological thriller with incredible storytelling, Mouthwashing is probably going to be one of the easiest games I'll ever recommend to you. So without further ado, I'll be seeing you.